Hi, Caroline Kearney here at Powell Arts, and I'm standing with the wonderful Stephanie Rose with her beautiful rosy hair. And we're going to have Stephanie in our jury show from now through May 14th. Stephanie, would you introduce us to your terrific piece?
This is a watercolor piece. It is an 8x10. It is done on cold pressed paper, and it's called Bogged Down. It's a picture that was inspired by the Pine Barrens and Wharton State Forest. This is actually a place you can go to, believe it or not. This is the Green Trail in Franklin Parker Preserve. It's right across from Chatsworth Lake. And yeah, that's where all the magic started.
This is really beautiful, and I love the you've used watercolor to paint water, which has a nice sheer, and you can really control how the values and transparencies work, which works really interestingly in this piece. Can you talk about how, one, what inspired you about this piece, and two, how you think about going and using density to make your work?
So what inspired this piece was a few weeks before we had hiked, there actually was a forest fire not too far from here. And I remember when I was little driving through the forest and seeing the sun kind of glaring through one of the forest fires. And when I went back and I was hiking, we got to this place and it was an old bog. Mm-hmm. And the water was so, like, it was almost like clear when the sun hit off of it. And the leaves were this beautiful red color in the background. And the sun was like shining just perfectly where you got the charred wood and that red from the leaves and the sun. And it gave you this feeling. And I was wanting to just kind of give you the feeling of it all, like that fire within the forest, that rebirth, the transparency that nature gives us when we go into it.
Yeah. And you can really see that with the bright horizon here and then the very dark, bold trees starting from the front and moving forward. So I'm guessing then that you started with the horizon line.
I did. I actually picked out the horizon was kind of that like leap of faith, like you just throw the color on the paper and then you're just like, okay, because with watercolors, you have to be patient, and I'm not patient usually. So this is like my meditative practice. This is my intuitive like thinking, the way that I can calm myself in a storm, just like nature itself. So yes, I threw that color down and I let it do the talking, and I just kept adding those layers.
Yeah, and one of the things I think is really interesting too is that clearly you taped to like keep it within the frame, and then once you pulled the tape, you put these flecks of brown and black that spatter throughout, which just add this nice depth to it. We don't know if they're leaves. We don't know. It brings you through like ash. They could be any sort of object, but it kind of guides your eye all the way around so that you take in everything. What impelled you to do that? Like, what gave you that impulse?
Because I want you to be the viewer. I want you to feel like you're in that place. I want you to feel like you're in the picture and being absorbed. So maybe those leaves, whatever it is to you in that moment, it's coming at you, drawing you into that picture.
It really makes atmosphere.
Yeah.
There's two things that I was drawn to with this piece. Number one was the way that you have blocked my path and yet given me a path in. Yeah. And the second has to do with the mirrored composition, that you have basically a line, which is your horizon line, and then the light at the bottom and the light at the top, which seem to mirror each other. So I was hoping that you would talk a little more about your composition, because there are a couple other elements I did not add that I hope you talk about.
Okay. So as you can see with being the viewer, that's why I intentionally added the branches coming up from. It's almost like you have a camera lens, and I am peeling your eyes back through and kind of like taking you up to the main show.
Yeah.
That sun burning its way through the leaves and the branches and the forest, making its way to you, to hopefully like inside of you in your heart, and you feel something in this picture. The compositions that I do I try to make you feel the picture, that warmth, that maybe that rebirth, maybe of the forest, trigger a memory of your own.
I have a question compositionally, like about the way, did you start, I'm going to just point to it, this line here, So when you put in the horizon line, did you automatically start mirroring it down here?
Yep. Because once that color was thrown down, it's like it awakened that place for me. I was able to say, yes, now I can see the brown shadows in the water.
Yeah.
And now I can see the sun pulling down the shadows into like, that the fire of the leaves is now being pulled down.
Well, even the way that the blue up here mirrors right here is very nice. Like as Carol said, it's a true mirror. Like if you you can really divide it right here, and they mirror each other so beautifully in a way that makes it look atmospheric is a great word for it. But it also just really draws your eye to the color and you have almost color and then monochromatic, which I think is really a nice juxtaposition.
And within the monochromatic, there is color. So you have that orange, but within the browns, I have added purples so that those oranges pop out just that much more.
Yeah.
And it is like a mirror because it's disorienting when you're going through the forest, And so you're at this point and it is because the sky and the lake, it's all the same. And that's what I felt in that moment.
Yeah.
There's also something about this that is very much a fairy tale in the same way that the Jersey Devil is a fairy tale, in the same way.
Folklore.
Yeah. The same way that Wharton Forest itself makes you feel like you're in an enchanted land.
Yeah. It's almost a time.
It's there and forever.
Yeah.
But do you yourself feel these qualities when you go in? And is that part of what you're hoping to get? Because this is not a narrative picture. This is a landscape.
Yeah.
And yet it becomes narrative.
I think because I have a strong background in illustration, that I think that transfers over to when I draw a picture. I want it to be a story for you. I want you to look deeper and find a meaning. Maybe it's not the same meaning as mine. That doesn't matter to me, but I want you to find something to attach to it.
Yeah. So I think that's funny that you attach to the Pine Barrens because, as Carol said, they are so historied and they are almost like a step out of time. And this has very much that kind of feel of an environment that you're yes, it's a landscape, but it feels like you're approaching into it to start a story.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I think
that's great. Yeah. No, it is because and I just did a show in the Pine Barrens and the stories and the lore and the, just the stuff that people will come by my table and talk about, oh, I know where this is. I'll tell them I have a story about the cougar. That's and it's great because I'm doing what I'm supposed to. I'm getting people to talk about a place that means something to them.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we hope that you will come see this enchanting piece of art, Bogged Down by Stephanie at our jury show from now through May 14th. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you,
We're
Stephanie.
excited.